Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Preparedness 101. My name is Janice Imbrogno. I am a home economist. I'm a specialist with essential oils, and I love helping families make their lives easier and healthier, and of course, happier. So I naturally am a prepared type of person. I don't know if it's my natural instinct or it's my home economics, family and consumer sciences training. But anyway, regardless, I have a lot of ideas that I'd love to share with you that will help you feel more in control and make you and your family feel a little bit more safer and a little bit more prepared. Please do not be overwhelmed. I'm going to share a lot of information, and this is something that becomes a lifestyle that you want to do a little bit at a time. I don't want you to run out and just buy a whole bunch of supplies all at once. That will get overwhelming. It gets depressing. It gets financially draining. So let's start with a few slides, and we'll go back and forth between me sharing slides with you and talking to you. So again, welcome to this preparedness class. And here is my information. I have a lot of blog articles about natural and healthy family living on my website. And there is one, and by the time you watch this, there may be even more than one articles on the website about preparedness where you could find some more information. I also share a lot on Instagram and YouTube, and also on Facebook. So I also want to let you know, because we'll be talking points about health and wellness, that I am not a medical professional. So I'm going to share ideas that work for me and my family and are generally good practice. But if it comes to health and wellness, always consult your medical professional. So why are we doing this? There are so many different things that could happen. It could be as simple as a power outage with no explanation. It can be that you're ill. That picture is of me when I had foot surgery a few years ago, and I was off my feet, non-weight bearing for 9 weeks. Boy, did I need preparing then. But you never know, unexpected illness can take you from buying things and having food in the house and that type of thing. You could lose a job, and if you have a stash of supplies and of food, you could feed your family, even though you're not having more income come in because you've prepared for this. Then there's the snowstorms, the weather issues, the hurricanes. There could be lockdowns that we experienced not so long ago. Stores close. There's issues with trucking. There's issues with containers on ships coming from overseas, and manufacturing and supplies are affected. And then there could be the natural disasters like floods and well, I mentioned hurricanes, whether you consider that, depending on the severity, whether that is a natural disaster or weather issue, there could be a fire, all kinds of things. And I'm sure there are other scenarios that you could think of yourself. So these are just some examples. When I made this program, Texas had gone under some flooding. There's fires out west. There was the lockdown and businesses closed. And even here, when we had Superstorm Sandy, there was no warning for that, or very little warning, and people were caught unprepared. So why are we preparing? We want to be self-reliant, and we want to make life easier, have less stress and worry, handle these challenges. And also, when you prepare well, there's less time wasted and gas wasted running back and forth to the stores. So just let me also make this clear. Prepping is not hoarding. As I said, prepping is a lifestyle. This is something that every week you buy some extra supplies, and over time you have all your supplies in. It's not going out and buying the last roll of whatever. Don't let it overwhelm you. Don't let it discourage you or depress you. Take it like a new hobby. That's how I like to look at it. It's a hobby that I work on, and that I practice. And it's like, oh, I'm going to get some new things for my prepper pantry or whatever. And be realistic, be practical, and don't go into debt to buy these supplies. Do this as you can afford it. So these are some basic areas. We're going to talk about food supply and storage, our health and wellness, having emergency supplies such as batteries and lanterns and radios and that type of thing, how to keep our family and ourselves entertained and have some recreation, and some emotional preparedness. So also, if you do invest any money, I said, don't go into debt, but any money that you invested on prepping supplies is a form of insurance. And if you put aside money each week, or you find maybe you have a garage sale, or you sell things on eBay, or you take another little part-time job, maybe you can find some additional sources of income so that you can buy some of these supplies and also have some cash on hand. I always suggest that you have coins, bills, not too large denominations, and credit cards, because there could be some times where credit card machines are not working and they'll only take cash. And then there's some situations where businesses won't take cash and can't make change and they only want credit cards. Along with your important papers, your money should be locked up in a fireproof, any cash, fireproof, waterproof container. It should be hidden and in a safe location, yet it should be easily accessible in case you have to grab it and go. So let's start talking about cars first. And I just want to think about my father, because my father taught me always to fill up my tank when I was on half. And I don't know why he taught me that. This was so many years ago, but I've kept in that habit. And I try to teach this to my kids, because you never know what type of emergency, disaster or not, will you have to jump in the car and go somewhere, and you don't want to be on empty. So I do make it a habit, and I have my whole driving life to fill up on half. The other thing that my father taught me was to always keep a spare key. So whether you keep that, if you keep that in your wallet, that's fine, but don't lock your purse in the car. So so for example, I always make sure for my children's cars that we make extra key copies, and that I have a copy, and in the house, there's a copy of everybody's car keys. So there's multiple copies, and that we have spares. I'll just talking about cars, the other few things I'll mention, it's always good practice to keep them in good repair. Try not to put off repairs, because again, you don't know if there's going to be an emergency. You don't know if a part is going to be ordered and take a long time. So try to keep your cars well running. And also with transportation, I suggest, if you ride bicycles, that all members of your family have a bicycle with a basket in case for some reason you can't use your automobile. It's nice to have another mode of transportation. And also use your car as a place to store some emergency supplies. So it might be very basic things, like I always have extra blankets, and I make sure my kids have especially wool blankets in the car. I always keep extra gloves. It might sound silly, but I keep extra plastic utensils and straws, because you never know when you're going to need them. I have extra shopping bags and plastic bags and first aid equipment and jackets. And when my kids were little, I always carried their bathing suits and extra bathing suit in the car in case spur of the moment we went somewhere and there was somebody's pool. I have insulated containers, of course, jumper cables, all the emergency things. That's just a list off the top of my head. I keep reading material in the car in case I get bored and I have to wait somewhere. Always, not that it should, don't leave food in the car that like mice or critters can get in your car and eat. But if it's well packaged, or you have a system, or you keep it in your purse, but it's always good to have some water and snacks, because you just never know in the car. So that's just, a general thing about your car. It's your first level of preparation, as is both a handbag or a briefcase or a backpack. And because I was talking about car keys, I also just want to mention that house keys are important. And if you have a trusted family friend or family member or loved one, or someone that you know can hold an extra key for you, that's always a good idea. And all members of your family should know where that key is. Before we go to food, let me just say a couple of other things about your family. It's important that you have a family code word. It's important that you have a family meeting location somewhere outside your home. And it could be the front of the house and in front of your next door neighbor's house to the left, for example, whatever it might be. And then in case something happens in your neighborhood, that you all know if something happens, go to grandma's or go to aunt so-and-so's or go to, whose ever house that is not in the area. Just in case cell towers go down and you can't get in touch, you should have backup plans, and every member of the family should know the backup plan. And just in case it is an extreme emergency like that, also, you should have written copies. I have a book, I call it, well, I don't make this up. I follow this woman, her name is Fly Lady, Marla Silly. And she had this, my book is old, but it's called A Control Journal. But anything that's really important, like phone numbers, yes, I have it on the cloud, but if the cloud goes down, I need a hard copy. So that's all here. Then all your family members, for example, should know where, like in that, I'm in my basement right now, in that closet right behind me is the lever to cut all the water in the house. So if a toilet is overflowing and the knob breaks or whatever emergency, and then right in front of me in the corner there is the electric panel. I make sure my children are adults now, but they're 26, 23, and 20. They're old enough, but since they were kids, I taught them where those shutoffs were. And anytime I had a babysitter in the house, you want to know where all that is. Also in here, I've kept like all kind of family things, but my town sent out, well, actually, this wasn't the town. This was Newsday. My local newspaper sent out a storm preparedness guide a while ago, but I have simple things like my family, like the garbage collection schedule, but they send out the town of Hempstead hurricane preparedness. I keep all those kind of things in there. And if you see, this is an emergency page. So if there was somebody at the house and they had to call emergency, they knew the address and phone numbers and just all kind of important things in that family journal. All right, so that is really important before we go to food preparation. And so let's start with now the more formal presentation. Food supply and storage. Store what you eat and eat what you store. There's no sense stocking up on rice and beans if nobody in your family will eat rice and beans. So I have a couple of suggestions for that. First of all, make some, I'll have a slide of this coming up, but make some, sit down and plan some meals, plan snacks, write down what you're serving your family now, and that will be your basic shopping list will come from there. So food storage does require space, and that's the issue that a lot of people have. This is a beautiful home with a big, beautiful built-in pantry. I don't have that, so I have to make do, and this is my basement. I put things in plastic. If you can see, everything's labeled. You want to avoid cardboard for long-term storage as much as possible, because again, you don't know if any critters are going to get in the house. You don't know if there's any bugs from the store. So I do have some emergency supplies, and I also purchased, this is my second refrigerator in my basement. I have some kitchen cabinets, and I bought a small chest freezer. I also bought a box that locks, and I keep snacks in here, and then here's some other food supplies. And this is just how I managed and made my house adaptable to food storage. Here is what, again, I don't have a designated pantry, but I have a very small kitchen. So this is in my basement. My food prep, there are some people that will store food for that lasts for 25 years, or they'll store food that will last them for 6 months. I don't have the space, so I'm kind of an in-between prepper, and this is medium time storage. This is not just, this will last me more than a week or two because this isn't all of it. But I don't, you have to do what works for you. I store as much food as I can, but I don't have I'll show you some pictures of some beautiful pantries. Like this is, I got this from the internet. Some people have dedicated rooms and have really, really big long-term supplies. So you do what works for you. Also, I like to, let me just show you for a minute. I just pulled some cans from my pantry. And although the date is on here, I'd have to put my glasses on each time I pick this up. So it could be neater, but I quickly take a piece of masking tape and I put the date so that I could read it clearly. When I shop, I don't just pick up food without looking for the date, because now I shop looking for the furthest out extension of an expiration date that I can find, so that the food will last me for a long time. And then when I bring it into my home, I put the new food to the back, so I am always rotating it. I'll show you a couple of other things about food storage as soon as we get through the food storage slides. These are just some ideas. Be mindful of heat and humidity. So for example, I have storage in my attic, but it just gets too hot up there and it gets too cold in the winter. It's not appropriate for food storage, so I have to work with the space that I have in the basement. This was just an idea. These were some IKEA storage units that if you don't have built-in shelving or you don't have a pantry, you could buy a unit like this and use it for food storage. I thought that that was very clever. You can also build shelves high up on closets. This is all food storage in a bench. There's sometimes space under your staircase. So I don't like to put food in my bedroom or under my bed, but sometimes people do that. You can use the back of your doors. There are just different clever ideas that you can use to store your food. And this is just a summary of what I just told you. Besides the prepared food, have in basic supplies and also include canned foods and dried foods and food that doesn't need cooking, just in case you don't have a source of cooking in your house. In your basement, that's such as I do, I always use a humidifier. I don't put the food directly on the floor. I like to lift it up, or at the very least, have it in plastic because of flooding or humidity. Anything that's very long-term storage, say more than a year, don't keep it in the original cardboard, label and date everything. You can buy these big buckets. You can also buy Mylar bags that you can use to seal. The Mylar bags are not rodent proof, but you can put some oxygen absorbers in there. Also mason jars. Let me give you a couple of ideas. So here I used a mason jar for oatmeal, and I actually put this in. This was last August 8, 2020, but it's still good. I vacuum sealed this, and some of you may have heard of a food saver. Here's my food saver. You can buy all kind of variations of this. This like sucks the air out of packages, and they have an adapter that you can put on top of the mason jars. So I just opened up one of these recently, and when you open it, you hear a pop because it is airtight. Now, I have another package of oatmeal that I used the food saver for, and I used the food saver bag. You can feel that's hard as a rock. That's because all the air was sucked out of this when I stored it. So a food saver is really great. Here's a mason jar that I put some sugar in. I also made it airtight. Don't use oxygen absorbers with sugar because then they'll get hard as a rock. I dated it. I put it in. Sugar lasts just basically forever. Because I wanted to be able to bake, I also had some brown sugar and I used the bags for that. And here's an example of a big mason jar. If you want to get things out of cardboard, such as some pasta or something, you can put it in here, even if you don't vacuum seal it. So glass is always good. And of course, these can be reused even if you use them for canning. So I think that was basically what I wanted to show you. This is just, this could be like a semester course. So this is just some ideas, some quick ideas to get you thinking. There's also so many resources on the internet that you can find out more and more as deep as you want to dig into this. So what I'm really trying to do today, again, is to just open your eyes, increase your awareness, and get the wheels turning so you could think of what would help my family in emergency? What can I do to store some more food? So it's also a good idea. to have a written inventory. Just recently, we were threatened with a hurricane that we didn't get, but I made big blocks of ice. What I did was I took just some glass containers or plastic containers you could use, and I froze them. And then I took the big blocks of ice out, and my preparation was going to be that, first of all, if you want to keep everything cold in a freezer or refrigerator, keep it stocked full. So I filled up my refrigerators and a freezer. And then my plan was, if the electricity went out, I was going to take those big chunks of ice that were in the freezer, put them in the refrigerator to keep it cooler, keep it shut. I also have coolers that I was going to use them in. And then I was going to refill the freezer with items from the refrigerator so that it would stay full. Now, you don't want to put too many new things in it. The refrigerated items were already cold, but you don't want to fluctuate the temperature of the freezer too much. And there are foods that you might not realize you could freeze. It's not always advisable, but I have gotten large size ice cube molds and frozen big squares of whole milk because we use it so rarely. You can grate cheese and freeze it. There's things that you're not used to freezing that you can. So along with the food supplies, you want to make sure you have enough laundry detergent. I'm a big fan of natural things. This is borax, and this is washing soda, which is just a strong form of baking soda. They are laundry boosters. This is a natural detergent that I use, Thieves. This is a natural cleaner. I have this for emergencies. I'm not a big bleach person, but because it's very toxic, but I do have 2 gallons of it just for an emergency, and some stain remover, other laundry supplies. You see, I am really stocked up. These containers go all the way back. So it's this way, if there was some type of lockdown, like I don't want to, let me just say this for a second. When we were just threatened with a hurricane, I felt I needed to go to the supermarket. I felt I needed to stock up, but I really didn't, because I wasn't low on anything. And that's the beauty of it. If you don't want to go out and face the crowds. So, some people might say, well, food is going to be available. We never during lockdown didn't have access to food. No, we always had access to food, but I wasn't on a half-hour line waiting to get into Costco. I don't want to waste my time waiting on long lines. Now, during this time, did I wait online a few times at Target and Trader Joe's? Yes, I did, but it wasn't under duress. And that's the thing. You shouldn't have to be under duress to get your food. And that's why I like being prepared. Or your laundry supplies or cleaning supplies. Oh, this is the food saver that I told you about. And as I said, it sucks the air out. You can use, they have special plastic bags that go with it, or you can use the attachment for a mason jar. And this was when I told you to plan out what your family really eats. This is just a basic menu planning grid, and identify what your family will really eat and have some nice treats in the house for them too. So here are some suggestions for food. Make sure you have some baking supplies. Protein powder is good. You can always make smoothies, different forms of milk and sweeteners and syrups and grains, dried fruits and nuts, sauces and condiments, your fats and oils and salad dressing, your spices, canned meat, poultry, fish, seeds that you can grow things with, because if something got really bad, you might have to grow your own food and start a garden. So it really does pay to have some seeds to grow vegetables. So water is also important, and these are just different ways to purify your water. First of all, I am not a fan. I always yell at my kids because I have a lot of bottled water in my house and they drink it. And I'm like, don't drink it. That's for emergencies. Because bottled water there's BPA, which is a toxic chemical. I don't know how safe and healthy that water is. In an emergency, though, it'll do just fine. I just don't want my children drinking out of it as a regular basis. Plus, it's expensive to buy water in individual bottles. So I do have enough water supply for everybody in the house. And then I also have a couple of things that I want to show you. I bought 2 of these 3-gallon jugs from Whole Foods that if a storm is coming, I can fill these up with water. Life Straw, it automatically, you can fill this up, and if any water, say, especially for people who are out camping or in the wilderness, it will purify the water from bacteria and other pathogens. You can just buy a Life Straw to drink from a pond from. This is on my to buy list. I don't have one of these yet. This is a Berkey water filter, which is highly, highly recommended. Right now, I have one that is electric. This doesn't depend on electricity, and this is on my wish list too. And then I also have tablets to disinfect water. And of course, you can always use drops of chlorine, and you could look up how to do that. So we're going to talk about health and wellness now. So be empowered, have tools. You are not helpless. One thing I would suggest, and I'll show you some of my supplements. I don't have anybody who's taking medication on a regular basis, but if you do take prescription medications, then you would want to have a backup supply of that. And my family is big on natural supplements. This is what we use to stay healthy. And this is just one of a number of containers I have. And you see, I put labels on here, what's actually in here. You can see there are a lot of supplements, but that was my peace of mind. Now, these will never go to waste because we use them consistently. Just this morning, my son said, "Oh, can I have some omegas?" And I just pulled it out from a bin like this. So it's I go to the extreme. I have a lot, but by having a lot, that is my peace of mind. So you get as many supplies as is your peace of mind. Now, that also might include Q-tips and cotton puffs and peroxide, and if you use Neosporin, stomach preparations, different over-the-counter things that you would use for health and beauty and cosmetics, etc. Anything, if makeup is important to you and it makes you feel good, shampoos, conditioners, deodorants. I never go toothpaste, mouthwash. I never go down to the last one. And it's so cool because anytime my children ask me for something, I have it. I have like a little store in my house. So I like being the prepared mom. These are some pictures of the supplements. Yes, there is a lot. I just didn't want to do without. So I also have a supply of essential oils, and you might ask me what they are. So let me just show you some essential oils. These are very important in my prepping. They're very important in my day-to-day life, so I wouldn't do without these. So how do I use them? Number one, I use them to stay healthy. And if you took the time to research either general research, or if you go to pubmed.gov, which shows you government, research sponsored by the government, PubMed, PUBMED.gov. There's all kind of research on essential oils. Look it up, be a good consumer. There are many essential oils that are antimicrobial, they're antibacterial, they're antiviral, they're antifungal. They keep us healthy. There are some that I use when my head hurts. There are some that I use when my stomach hurts. There are some I use when my muscles hurt. There are some that I use to keep my respiration clear. And there's some I use when I have a cough or an issue in my throat. I use them for everything. I use them for stress, for anxiety, for helping me sleep, to cheer up my mood. In preparedness world, I would never be without them. And what are they? Basically, they're a part of the plant that is purely distilled by steam or crushed, or the peel is crushed. And that would be so for example, they could take a flower, a root, a stem, a leaf, a berry, a part of a shrub, and they just put it in these big vats. They add steam, and the essential liquid comes out. That is the essential oil. It's not a fatty oil like, say, for example, avocado or coconut oil. Those are fatty oils. In fact, I have coconut oil right here, because this is another prep that I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend. You can use this for so many first aid things, as well as cooking and frying. but this is a fatty oil. Essential oils are not fatty oils. The other thing is I use them to just make my house smell great, to get rid of odors, to clean, to make my own natural cleaners and disinfectants. So let me just show you off the top of my head. This is another preparation that I strongly suggest you get. You get this at the liquor store. It's called grain, Grain alcohol. It's 95% alcohol. So it's going to kill things. And I make a disinfectant by just pouring this in a spray bottle. And then I add, to make it smell nice, you can use different, sometimes I'll use clove, sometimes I'll use cinnamon bark, or I'll use thieves, or you can just use orange essential oil. And you put a few drops in here. As long as you have 95% alcohol, and the recommendations are 70% alcohol, adding a little essential oil or some natural cleaner like this thieves cleaner, this gives me a nice disinfectant. Also, just remember, any disinfectants that you use are not effective if you don't clean first. So I always have a natural cleaner like this thieves cleaner on hand. Castile soap is also good. I think the thieves cleaner is better because this is just soap, whereas that actually is a cleaner and has a surfactant. As long as you get the grime and grease and dirt and dust and crumbs off the surface, then a disinfectant can work. So you want to be able to, have peroxide in your house, baking soda. Oh my goodness, you can use this for a natural deodorant. You can use this to brush your teeth. You can use this as a laundry booster. You can use this as an odor absorber. You can use this to clean your carpets. You can use this to scrub your sink and tub. This has 1,000,001 uses. You want to make sure you do have a lot of baking soda, and you can make your own cleaning supplies. Not only are they safer to use, but you don't have to worry about running to the store. So these are the essential oils that I always have on hand. And if you want to learn more about them, go to my website or other videos on my YouTube channel, and I teach about these. But these are my basic first aid oils that I would never be out. I would never go to my last bottle. And again, that's a course in itself, like lavender, skin, cuts, burns, eucalyptus, respiratory, raven, respiratory, oregano, thyme. I don't think I put clove in here, but oregano and thyme like kill stuff. These are just great, great things to have. And then, of course, the supplies for your own cleaner. I mentioned Castile soap and the thieves cleaner. The alcohol, you can use isopropyl alcohol also, but it is denatured. The thing is, and also no, alcohol is a flammable. This all has to be locked up from children, but this does not have the greatest fumes, so you have to be careful. It does sanitize things. Peroxide kills mold, kills germs. Your washing soda and baking soda, white vinegar, your essential oils, salt. You can just clean and sanitize your home, with all this, including your essential oils. This is just a list. You will make your own list, but these are some things that I like to have. I love silver spray. That's a nice thing to have, and you could do some research on that and how it could help you. But, it's a lot. But you, again, make your own list, and then just make sure, keep an inventory, make sure you have it in. So emergency supplies. First of all, have warm clothing, wool. Wool is so good for you. Wool socks, wool blankets, thermal clothing, wool if possible, sleeping bags, a tent if you lose heat. Put the tent together in your house, and all the family go in the tent. Your body heat will keep each other warm. Hand, feet, and body warmers. A mobile hotspot is a great emergency preparedness item to have in case you lose Wi-Fi. So you could look into getting that. I know some libraries rent them out if they're open. Lanterns, I'm going to open some of my personal ones now. I got this on Amazon. These are awesome little inexpensive lanterns. These are household items that I always have in. I mentioned some of them, but don't forget your paper goods. And although I try to be environmentally conscious and I don't often eat from paper I do have paper supplies and plastic forks, etc. in, because if you don't have electricity and you don't have water, you want to have disposable things. So this is just a nice list that you could look at, or pause the recording and take another look and make your own list based on this. Then there is a thing called a bug out bag. And if you could get a nice sturdy waterproof backpack and fill it up with things that if you have to, it's also called a grab and go bag. If you have to run out quickly, either this is filled and ready to go with, like, just say you had to go to an emergency shelter, you would want a change of clothing in there, your personal care items, some basic health supplies, some snacks and food, whatever you need to throw in the bag and run out or have set in the bag. And if you already have your bug out bags full, go through them every month or 3 months or so and put fresh things in there. And then these are some more preparedness items. I'm going to go back to the slide, but I just want to show you, for example, what I did. When I realized I couldn't go out to stores, I ordered things like as simple as this. These were the light bulbs that I used for the kitchen, and then the same ones that I wrote BR for bathroom. I stocked up on those just because if I couldn't get out to a store freely and comfortably, I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to run out of light bulbs. Batteries go without saying, candles go without saying. I will say I only use candles for emergency, or I only use beeswax candles. Never scented candles are highly toxic, are plugins. And again, that's another story. But things that I know this might sound silly, but I was so afraid of a toilet breaking and not having a repairman, or not be able to get the supplies, that I bought spare parts for both of my toilets so that I would have them in the house. So whatever spare parts or light bulbs or things that you would need that you would be afraid you couldn't get, you might want to stock up on them. It's just, again, it's peace of mind. I love to juice. I always have spare juicer parts because I don't want the juicer to break. And I have a hand crank for my juicer in case the electricity goes out. So I mean, again, this is mind-boggling. Sewing supplies, cleaning equipment, gardening equipment, duct tape, your masking tape, rope and string, tarps. A whistle is a good thing to have. I'm going to open my bins in a minute. Have a printed list. I showed you from my binder before. And of course, these were some things that I mentioned before, just a nice review. Make sure all your important documents are protected. And as I said, this is the water shutoff and it's labeled main water shutoff. Make sure that's taken care of. And then take care of your recreational, entertainment, and exercise needs. And don't forget spirituality, like whether you have books or magazines, maybe if some spiritual reading or prayer cards or things like that will help you, then that's important. Arts and craft supplies, whatever it is, this is just a general list. It has to be personal to you. Don't buy board games if nobody in your family likes board games. Again, it's like the food. Buy things that you will use and that you will enjoy. And even if it's audible, like I love listening to books, and you might say, well, I'll lose electricity, but I'm going to show you how to get solar power banks, so you can keep your phone charged. And again, emotional preparedness. That's why I love my oils. My oils, just like right before I started teaching this, I wanted to do a good job and I put some frankincense on. Frankincense is a very spiritual oil, and it's great for meditation or when you do yoga, or if you just want to ground and settle yourself. I use it in combination with Valor because this is a high frequency and this is even a more grounding essential oil. But your stress away oils, your peace and calming oils, your citrus oils, the oils that help you sleep, I just can't do without that. And have support. It's really important to be able to be with people that are calm and give you that sense of ease. If being with certain people make you nervous and anxious, you may want to rethink how much time you spend with those type of people. So also, it's really important that you feel comfortable in your home if you are, quote, stuck there. So if there's one thing you can do a day to make it more of your haven, your refuge, to make it cozy, um, to clean it, to organize it, just to make it a really comfortable place to be in case you get stuck there for a while. Also, when it's safe, be outside in nature, whether it's sunshine in the winter or sunshine in the summer. Your body needs the vitamin D from the sun, and you need exercise, you need movement that will all keep you very emotionally balanced. And get to know your neighbors. It's so important. We don't want to take care of these emergencies on our own. You may be able to help your neighbors. Maybe you stocked extra food and they have a generator and they can give you a line. Like you're going to work together. Maybe you have your essential oils and they're a nervous wreck, and you're going to teach them how to use them with breath to be calm, and they're going to come over and fix your spare tire. I don't know. I'm just making things up, but a sense of community, a sense of being with loved ones is just so, so important. I can't emphasize that enough. That's really, really important. This is a diagram because I keep referring to how to use essential oils for emotions. This just shows you that the aromatic molecules in the essential oils go up your nose to the olfactory bulb. They go right to the brain, and smells do go to the brain. I was mentioning frankincense and valor before. You can breathe them in while you do alternate nostril breathing. I have another video on YouTube about that. It's extremely calming and reduces anxiety. And then just always to remind yourself to be in the moment. If we start worrying about all these preparations, and if we start worrying about all these possible disasters, we're going to cause ourselves extreme anxiety. I'd rather just view this as, this is my insurance policy, this is my comfort, this is my feeling of control, this is my groundedness, this is what makes me feel safe, and this is my security, not, oh my goodness, what's going to happen. It's just like, being prepared for a job interview. You want to be prepared. And now, before I'm going to open up some of my bins and show you some of my supplies. But again, I want you to have my website and my email, all my social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, lots of information. So let's stop the share and let me show you some supplies. Before I actually get into the nitty gritty supplies, I also think it's important for you to have some natural healing books. These are some I have. This is an old one, the Practical Encyclopedia of Natural Healing, Surviving When Modern Medicine Fails, and the Essential Oil Integrative Medical Guide. It's always nice to have books that will help you in case of emergencies to stay healthy. And I just want to see if there was anything around me. Okay, let me show you. I have bins. Again, everything is in plastic. Everything is labeled. It says emergency supplies, masks, and goggles. And basically, there's also gloves in there, and there's goggles, and there's masks, just in case, like N95 masks and that type of thing, if you need that for any type of emergency. Then I also have a couple of bins. I have 3 bins I'm going to show you. I forgot to mention, I'm going to open this one up. Emergency supplies, matches, lighters, a Watchman TV, a water purifier, Mylar blankets, and a water bob for the tub. So, they always say if you think you could lose power or water, to fill up your tub. So this is a really cool thing called a water bob. And you can put that in your tub and fill it, and it'll keep it clean and it won't go back down the drain. I have long handled matches, which are very important. And I do have the water purifier liquid. I also have lighters and regular matches. They also sell waterproof matches. I have Mylar blankets. I keep some of these in the car too. This is what the Mylar food storage bags are made out of. And what do I have here? Oh, this is for, let's see. I think this is a very old thing. and I am so dating myself, but I keep it just in case. I have emergency radios, but this was called a Watchman TV, and it has an antenna, and it picks up like broadcast channels that are being broadcast over the airwaves that you could pick up on an antenna, and it still works, so I saved it just in case. So those are some of my supplies. I'm going to show you a few more. And again, these are kept in bins. They're labeled. The children know where they are, because you don't want to just have a hodgepodge of stuff and not know where it is. Okay. Put that aside, and I have a few more bins to show you. Okay, in here, I have mini lanterns, binoculars, glow sticks, a whistle, a headlamp, compasses, and paracord. I'm not going to be able to survive in well, I shouldn't say that, but I have tarps, but I don't know how to build a tent with paracord and tarps. But I have things in bags. So this is a really good type of string to have. It's called paracord. I have a few of those if you have to tie things up or tie things down. I have a compass. And what else is in here? There's more paracord. Oh, and I have whistles on lanyards. So just in case, like everybody in the family needed to grab a whistle, we have that. And then in here I have glow sticks, which kids love, but if you don't want to use up your battery on your flashlights, it's daytime, so you can't see so much, but these glow in the dark, and they have a flashing feature, and they come in a whole bunch of colors. So I have a bunch of glow sticks. Even if all your neighbors are gathered outside, you might just give all the children one of those. These are the mini lanterns that I got on Amazon, and they came with the batteries. I don't like to keep the batteries in them, so I just tape them outside because we don't use these that often. And what is this? Oh, this is a headlamp. So because if you need both hands free, you can wear like a flashlight on your forehead. And what's this? Oh, another headlamp. I have a couple. The binoculars, which you know what that is. So those were those emergency supplies. I actually didn't take the candles out because you know what candles are. And I have candles easily accessible. But again, I don't like the fragrance ones. Okay, in this box, this is what I love, a power bank. Every time I'm concerned that we're going to lose electricity, I charge this up. I'm going to take it out for you. It comes cord, so you have to be able to have put this into a USB outlet, like the little ones that you charge your phone with. And then this might even be charged. Let me turn it on because I had it charged up recently. You can put your phones and iPads and things like that in here. And it's solar. So if you know a storm is coming, you put it in an electric outlet and you charge it up. But if you lose power completely, you can use this. Oh no, that's a light. And you can use this side and charge it up from the sun. I just want to see where the ports are. Yeah, there's a port there. Sorry about that. I haven't used it in a while. This is on and off, so I could shut the power. But somewhere on I think you could charge 3 cell phones on this. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is really, really handy to have. I have 2 of these because you know how we all feel about our cell phones. And I don't know how readily available this was, but the last big storm was Superstorm Sandy. And I remember everybody going to like the stores to find outlets and coffee shops to charge their things, but it's nice if you have that. I also have 2 radios. They're crank radios. So if you run out of electricity, I'll open one of these up for you. You can crank this, and it's a weather radio, an emergency radio. You could also use it. This, I haven't taken this plastic off yet, but this also has a solar charger to it. It has, you can charge USB like phones in there. It's an emergency radio. Oh, see, it's on now. It has an antenna. and flashlight. It's just like so cool. So I have two different versions of those radios. And you don't have to, again, you don't have to do two radios. You don't have to do two solar chargers. Oh, and I want to, oh, these are what you need to charge the solar banks. Now, I just have something that I think is really important. I think these make great gifts. So if you know a couple that's getting married and a bridal shower, a wedding gift, an engagement gift, like this kind of stuff is so practical. Somebody buying their first new home, I just think that is so great. And then, oh, this was just some of my food storage. I just wanted to show you how it was all labeled and it was in plastic. So I hope that is helpful. The only other thing I could think of is outdoors, if you can have a barbecue and have some propane tanks, just in case you can't cook indoors. It's nice to have a barbecue. It's nice to have a fire pit, have some firewood, some fire starters, safely store gasoline. If you buy gasoline, date the container, put it in appropriate container in appropriate location away from the house, and date it and put some stabilizer in it. And that's just the beginning. I am far from the expert. I've learned a lot from YouTube. So if you go through YouTube, you'll find a lot of different preppers who do real specific videos. This was just a real quick, it wasn't that quick, but it was an overview to get you thinking. So I hope you also stay safe, stay well, and have that feeling of safety, security, and being in control by doing some prepping. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.